Welcome to Platinum Hunters Extra, and on this momentous episode of the show, we are gonna take a look at the PlayStation Showcase in a way that we take a look at what Sony's first-party studios are working on. And we got some information finally after Sony has not said anything for a hot minute. Seriously, we've done this video before on the channel, and it was back in September of 2021 we did it. So you can imagine that all that time, plus a little bit extra, Sony has not told us anything about what they're working on. And they finally started talking, and really it seems like they haven't talked about everything, as if you did watch the showcase, you kind of saw that it was kind of held back. They held a lot of their cards back, I think. They showed quite a bit, but not quite as much as we thought for the amount of time they've said nothing. So we're gonna go studio by studio and see what they're working on, what's been confirmed, what's been reported on, and of course my speculation on what they are working on. So we're gonna be using the stoplight system again. If it's green, that means it's confirmed by the devs. If it's yellow, it has been reported through sources like Video Games Chronicle, Polygon, whatnot, sources like that, or even through Twitter posts as well, if it's relevant. And if it's red, it's completely my speculation and what I think they are working on. So let's get started, and we're gonna start with the studios that they did show games for at the showcase. I think that is the best place to start. And a few of them are newer studios like Haven and Firewalk and Bungie. I'm going to include Bungie as well, even though they're not technically part of the first-party PlayStation Studios roster. But we're going to talk about them anyways because they did show up and they have stuff to say. Before we get into all of this, I want to give a quick shout-out to Studio PixelOpus. You served us well. You guys created the excellent Concrete Genie. I haven't played Entwined, but I hear it's pretty good as well. Unfortunately, Sony has shut them down. So, thank you guys so much for that amazing game. I will be covering that on the channel. You can bet I will have a trophy guide for that eventually. But now, onward to the showcase. And the first thing we saw right out the gate in the showcase was Haven Studios, which has been newly acquired. They have given us our first look at Fairgame, which looks to be kind of like a multiplayer heist kind of game, where it does look a lot like Watch Dogs in a way, but that makes sense because people like Jade Raymond came from Ubisoft, and a whole bunch of other devs came from Ubisoft, and they have made their own studio to work here. So I think this looks really cool. I could never really get into the Watch Dogs projects, especially the first one, which I really don't like that game at all. But here I'm willing to give it a shot, and I think this game looks pretty cool. Then we had Bungie confirming that they do have their Final Shape expansion coming out for Destiny 2 as Destiny 2 continues to roll on, but they also finally showed off Project Matter, which is actually Marathon. If you don't know what Marathon is, it is a very early game that Bungie has worked on. There's actually 3 of those games. This is even before Halo. So this is kind of like a spiritual remake of those games. It looks like it's going to be an extraction shooter, which is awesome. I really like that the extraction shooter genre is becoming more popular. So this is awesome. I think the art style of this game looks so cool, and I can't wait to see more of this. Then we also got Firewalk Studios, another newly acquired studio working on Concord. They've finally shown off what this game is. It's a PvP multiplayer FPS shooter according to the reports that came out after the showcase. The teaser doesn't show you a lot. In fact, it doesn't show you any gameplay. It just kind of shows you the aesthetic of the game, which is kind of like this 1970s kind of sci-fi look to it, but that is what Firewalk is indeed working on. And then the other thing that they showed is Marvel's Spider-Man 2. We got a very, very nice look at this game with gameplay. That Venom, Spidey, oh, absolutely awesome. I love the way it looks. It looks like the Secret Wars look, but it does bulge out as the symbiote starts to get angrier, or as Peter's emotions start to come out. You start to see the veins coming out, and it bulges out and then goes back to that sleek look that's from the Secret Wars look. I love it. I cannot wait to get my hands on this game, and oddly enough, they did not date it. They just said fall 2023, but you can assume it's probably either September or October that it is going to come out, and oh my lord, I cannot wait for it. The other game we know about from Insomniac is indeed Marvel's Wolverine. They are hard at work at that game, so that's 2 projects confirmed from them. And from my speculation, because these guys are the busiest devs in the industry, I think they could be working on something for Sunset Overdrive. Maybe it's going to start with a complete edition of the first game that drops on PlayStation. Maybe due to contractual things, it has to drop on Xbox as well, unless they're waiting for those rights to expire. If they do expire, I don't know the contract. But I do think that we might get something Sunset Overdrive. Of course, with the way that Rift Apart ends off, there could be a follow-up game to Rift Apart that eventually Insomniac will make. Or they could be working on a PS VR 2 title. They have worked on VR games before. So those are just some of my speculation. There's no reports that indicate any of these things are happening. But that is what I'm thinking Insomniac Games could be working on, alongside of Spider-Man 2, which is coming very soon, and Marvel's Wolverine, which now I expect will be coming next year instead of this year. Now, Bluepoint Games was not at the show, but we can finally put some speculation to bed, finally, because they did show off the new Metal Gear remake, which is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, a remake of the 3rd game in the series, which is technically the first game in the timeline. And it's being made by an internal studio at Konami and a for-hire studio named Virtuos. So that puts Bluepoint off the table when it comes to that, so we can cut off speculation on that. But there's still lots of speculation on what they could be working on. I still think that they're working on something Bloodborne related, especially after they went through all this work to make Demon Souls and making the systems that they made for that game. I can't imagine that they wouldn't take that structure and build upon it, and Bloodborne would be the perfect way to do it because it's also a Souls game like Demon Souls. The other thing that they could take that framework and build upon would be a 3D Castlevania game, as Konami is saying that they want to work on their IPs, and they've started doing this with Metal Gear Solid Delta and Silent Hill 2 being made by Bloober Team. So maybe there is a relationship here where Castlevania is being made by Bluepoint, but of course this is all speculation, and when it comes to actual hard evidence of what they're working on, well, you go over to Peter Dalton's post here where he says on Twitter he says that when the time is right, they'll show it off. All good things take time. Yeah. So really we don't know. Unless we get a report from somebody very reliable, we probably won't know what they're working on. And that's not to say anybody else who's reported on things is not reliable. It's just we don't have concrete evidence. And I'd like to think that it's Bloodborne they're working on, because I don't know what they were thinking leaving this game unremastered at 30 frames per second. That seems like the most heady kind of thing that they could be working on, but who knows? we just have to wait and see when it comes to Bluepoint Games. That's it for the games they showed at the showcase, but of course, even more tantalizing are the things they did not show at the showcase, and we expected to see them there. And of course, the big one that everybody was expecting to see was The Last of Us factions. We were hoping they were going to finally show it in a form that is more cinematic, or maybe even gameplay, not just concept art pictures. And it appears there's trouble in paradise when it comes to this game over at Naughty Dog, because Bloomberg released an article saying that this game had an internal review by, of all studios, Bungie, who is very well versed in live service games, and they said this game in its current form might have problems. Ouch. Ooh, not good. So then after that, Bloomberg reached out to Naughty Dog for comment on their article, and they immediately put out a Twitter post saying this: "To the Last of Us fans, we know many of you have been looking forward to hearing more about our Last of Us multiplayer game. We're incredibly proud of the job our studio has done thus far, but development has continued, and we've realized what is best for the game is to give it more time. Our team will continue to work on the project, as well as our other games in development, including a brand new single-player experience. We look forward to sharing more soon. We're grateful to our fantastic community for the support. Thank you for your passion for our games, and it continues to drive us." So, whoa. Brand new single-player experience is being worked on. So that means multiple games are being worked on at Naughty Dog as we speak. And according to this Bloomberg article, it looks like the game has changed its scope, which means that maybe a smaller team is working on this as they try to retool this game, and it might even be at the risk of being cancelled, potentially, unless they can kind of come up with something for this game. And it seems like it's not going to be the huge project that we thought it was going to be, which that's not good. That they've been working on this for so long, and the only other thing they had in development at the time was The Last of Us Part 1 remake, which is a game that has already been completed and has been remastered once before. I can't imagine that it would have been like a huge project to be working on at the same time as a new multiplayer game. So when it comes to this brand new single player experience, it's either The Last of Us 3 or it is a new IP project that they're working on. I can't see it being anything else, especially when you've spent this much time on a project that has been internally reviewed as being not that great, apparently. So I imagine they are jumping into Last of Us 3 Part 3 as the next game they're working on, and this will just be toiled away and see if they can make this thing come to light, and in a way that will... It's hard to say. Live service games keep dropping like flies, so in a way that people will want to play, I guess. Who knows how far they're gonna go with this live service initiative. The other one that we were expecting to be shown would be coming from Ben's studio, and conveniently, the exact day I am recording this video, they drop a new article that is about the history of Ben's studio, and they talk about their newest project that they're working on, and they say, as part of the PlayStation Studios family, we promise to continue bringing you quality experiences that aim to leave an everlasting impact with you. As of today, we are currently working on a new IP that includes multiplayer and builds upon the open world systems of Days Gone, but brings you a whole new world that we are extremely excited to craft for you. So they've stated before that they're not working on Days Gone 2, they are working on a brand new IP, and we found out through other articles before that it has a multiplayer component to it. Now I am looking at this image that they've put here, and there's things that are secretly put in the background. It says modular logo treatments, modular identity system. There is numbers here that say 06/22. Could that be a date? Could that be June 22nd of this year? It could be a teaser of some sort. I don't know. We will have to find out. But this is what we know about this game going forward. This is what Ben Studio is working on. My speculation is maybe they decided instead of a brand new IP, maybe we just make Siphon Filter with multiplayer. Could be. They haven't said that it is not Siphon Filter, so this could be a brand new game in the Siphon Filter series that they're making now. We will find out soon, and maybe even sooner, if this 06/22 is actually a date and an indication of when they're going to talk about this game. I think we were expecting there to be an announcement from Sucker Punch at the showcase, because the last time they put something out was in 2020 with Ghost of Tsushima, and of course they worked on the Legends portion of it as well. That was the last thing that did come out from them. And Iki Island, don't forget about Iki Island. But since then, they've been hard at work at their new game, and the only information we have gotten about it is the things they're not working on. As they have stated that they are not working on Infamous and not working on Sly Cooper, and nobody is working on Infamous and Sly Cooper as of that post that they put out telling people here's what your expectation should be. So I think, this is speculation by the way, I think that it is Ghost of Tsushima 2 or Ghost of a new area in Japan or maybe China, I don't know. Somewhere in that region, they're going to continue to build off this story that they have. And of course, there is a second invasion, and I think that will probably be where they locate this Ghost of game. I don't think it could be anything else. I think after the smash success of that game, it's a no-brainer for them to work on a follow-up to that game. So when it comes to Guerrilla Games, they kind of just went. They just released the Burning Shores DLC for Horizon Forbidden West, which came out last year as well. And there's been ongoing discussions even from our last video about this game that is being helmed by former Rainbow Six Siege director Simon LaRoche. And it appears that while we thought this would have been something military based like SOCOM or Killzone, which makes sense because that's closer to Rainbow Six Siege, I think what is actually happening is there's a Horizon multiplayer game being made, and this job listing from December 22 kind of suggests just that. Now, this is not to be confused with the supposed Horizon MMO that is being made by the company who made Guild Wars 2. That's separate, so there will be two Horizon online projects. This one seems to be a multiplayer kind of PvE game. Maybe there will be a PvP component to it, but it seems like it's PvE. And according to this, that they're staffing up for, featuring a new cast of characters, a unique styled look, friends will be able to explore the majestic wilds of Horizon together. So it seems like this is the other project that Guerrilla seems to be working on, and I'm kind of sad because I want to see Killzone or SOCOM come back in that cool kind of Rainbow Six Siege kind of way, where it's like class-based. But this is cool. I really hope that they're not burning the Horizon candle too quickly. Don't burn the wick too quickly, putting out too many Horizon things at once, because there is speculation that there is a Horizon Zero Dawn remake being made in the style of it's either in the style of The Last of Us Part 1 or it is a remaster in the style of Spider-Man Remastered. that will be resold on the PlayStation Store. I don't know which one is which, that's all speculation. And just, I hope they don't burn the wick too quickly for Horizon. Because all things in moderation, I think. There is not too much to say when it comes to Housemarque. They did release Returnal Ascension, which is a DLC pack for free that you can play through in between the time between the last time we took a look at these studios and now. I assume, this is my speculation, they're working on either a new project, a new story that does adapt these kinds of elements that they did build, like these roguelite elements, or they're working on Returnal 2 outright. I don't think that second one is right because Celine's story is kind of bookended, like it's kind of completed. I don't see how they could make a Returnal 2 unless it's a new character and a new story. That's just my speculation when it comes to Housemarque. Polyphony Digital is another easy one. They just released Gran Turismo 7 last year, and there is a PSVR 2 update. This is a live service game, so it's going to continue to keep going on. They're going to keep adding more cars. They're going to be continuing with the GT Academy stuff and the races that people play in, and that's what they're working on. I don't expect them to be working on anything else, and maybe they're lending their assistance to the Gran Turismo movie that is supposed to come out very soon. I can't imagine they're working on anything else but this. Now, Sony Santa Monica released God of War Ragnarok in the time that the game has come out. Eric Williams has said that, I don't know, man, the game is big. I think we put everything we had into it, so I wouldn't count on DLC. And that was speaking with Kinda Funny Games during their spoiler cast of the game. So God of War seems to be done for now. I don't think they are working on a new one, or if they are, it's in very early pre-production. Cory Barlog was not the director of this game, and he has stated last time at one of the PlayStation showcases that he is working on a brand new game. So he's still working on that, and that seems to be Sony Santa Monica's main focus right now, is this new IP that is being made with Cory Barlog at the director helm, and that's what they're working on now. Team Asobi has been another quiet studio that we're just kind of speculating on what they're working on. There is job listings that have come up that have said that your role will be to animate a wide range of cartoony and mechanical creatures, props, and vehicles used in game. So to me, my speculation, that sounds like a new Astrobot game, and I'm very happy to hear that. Whether this game is a PS5 game, a PSVR 2 game, because they have made the excellent Astrobot Rescue Mission, which is a PSVR game, or whether this game is a hybrid where you can play either it in VR or regularly on your PS5 with a controller, remains to be seen. It could be that they're doing a hybrid way, because it seems like Sony does want to invest in PSVR 2, but they also don't want to fully put their feet in that mud. They want to have it both ways. So I think this game will be a hybrid game, if it is indeed an Astro game. There is some serious tea when it comes to Media Molecule, who have been toiling away at the Dreams IP for years and years, and it seemed like they were just spinning their wheels when it came to this game. And finally, it appears like support for the game is ending this September, and they are working on a new game that has nothing to do with Dreams. And that's a shame, because this game is so interesting in that it's a tool set that people can make games with, even crazier than what we've seen from them before with Little Big Planet. But the problem is you can't export these creations in any way. There is no PS5 version of the game, and the biggest sin is there is no PC version of this game. So you're just on this platform where you're making things, and there's no way that you can export them to bigger platforms. And it's just stuck here on the PS4, which is now slowly going away. So they pulled the plug on this, and I completely understand, even though I know this is a very cool game. So Media Molecule is moving on. They are staffing up with new people and moving some of their other people higher up in the chain of command. And I assume it will be a while before we hear from them. And I'm worried that they're the next PixelOpus. And if this game they're working on doesn't show or doesn't meet like internal reviews, I'm afraid this studio will be shut down like PixelOpus. I don't know. We'll see. Since the last time we heard from Sony London studio, we knew they were hard at work, working on something bigger than their projects that they usually work on, like the VR stuff or like the SingStar kind of stuff. And it appears they've kind of given us a taste of what it is. It is a fantasy online combat game that is multiplayer focused. I assume in that case it is live service focused, one of the live service games that Sony wants to have. And judging from the art style, it looks pretty cool. I like it quite a bit, and I can't wait to hear more. And this is all they've kind of said about it, is that there's no microphone or VR headset in sight, that this game is going to be team-spirited, empowered, inclusive, curious. It's going to be this kind of fantasy whimsy kind of game that is combat-focused and live service. So whether that's PvP or most likely PvE, we'll see. I can't wait to see more of this game and see what it is. Firesprite is a big team, and they appear to be working on multiple projects, with one of them being Twisted Metal, apparently, which it was taken from Lucid Games, who was originally working on it, the team that made the ill-fated Destruction All-Stars, as it appears that the director from Lucid made the jump over to Firesprite, and they took the project with them so it could be made here inside Firesprite. I'm very happy about this, but I'm also very nervous about this, because this will definitely be a live service game, and it doesn't have any of the input from the original creators like David Jaffe and Scott Campbell. At times, these creators were working and were not working on this series, but at least one or two or more of the original cast were working on the projects. Now it seems to be a whole new studio. The director is the director that made MotorStorm, which is good. That's awesome, because that game has a combat focus, but it is a racing game. This is a car combat game. I'm a little nervous about this, but also they've also put out Call of the Mountain for PSVR 2. They just went, which people have kind of mixed feelings about that game. I hope to get my hands on it very soon. I want to play that game. And the only other project that has been reported on that they're working on is a AAA dark story-driven next generation narrative adventure with powerful storyline, strong character arcs, and compelling dialogue. It seems like it is a Sony style of game, but I think this one was being made before Sony acquired them, so it's just one they're working on right now. We'll see what it is. We got a couple more quick ones to go over. Of course, Sony San Diego is working on MLB The Show. They have been all this time. 22 has released, 23 has released. I can imagine that 24 is going to be released next, and I don't think they're working on anything else unless they are toiling away at getting another sports series under their banner. Who knows what could be in the works there, but just assume MLB all day, every day. Then you have Savage Game Studios, which Sony purchased to look after mobile titles, and they are working on a new unannounced AAA mobile live service action game. It appears Sony liked what they saw and decided, welcome to the family, son. And that appears to be what they're working on. I assume they're going to be working on a ton of projects for Sony when it comes to their IP and bringing them to mobile. Then their other official studios are support studios like Fabric Games, which works with Firesprite, San Mateo, Valkyrie, Malaysia, and Nixxes, which makes PC ports for the games that come out on PS5. But one particular support group, there was a post recently by a person who worked with them named John Borba, and on his LinkedIn post that he recently put out, he says, friends and colleagues, sadly due to a large pivot on a AAA multiplayer game I've been working on, there was some restructuring at our studio and I was among the people let go to support the new budgetary needs. Basically, the industry is tightening belts all over the place, and I ended up where a lot of folks are right now. I love the people I got to work with and the projects I worked with, and I'm sure you'll love them too. I hope that John Borba gets back on his feet quick. Working for Sony, you're definitely one of the cream of the crop devs, and I hope he gets back on his feet quick at another studio. But here he worked for the visual arts group that worked support for certain games. At one point, it appeared they were working on The Last of Us Part 1 remake themselves, but Naughty Dog took that back and worked on it themselves. And it seems like they were either working with a studio on a game or they were fronting this game, and it appears that it's being restructured. I wonder if it was Factions that is the game that it coincides with. Maybe they were working on Factions with Naughty Dog. Maybe that could be the game they're talking about here. But in this case, who knows what these guys are going to be working on, because they are a support studio. They could be supporting a whole bunch of other games as we speak. I don't know if they're leading one or not, but this is an update from them that I thought I'd share. And that's every Sony first party shown here, and what they could be working on and what they are working on. Let me know if I missed anything. It's a big list of studios. I could have missed something, or maybe there's another project that you know has been reported and I just missed the information. Let me know down in the comment section what you think these guys are working on, or what you want them to work on, because I want an Ape Escape game. Somebody better give me an Ape Escape game right now, or I'm gonna be pissed. I hope all your trophy hunting expeditions go incredibly well and your project doesn't get shut down. Peace out.